Hey, good. How you doing?
Hello, Cass.
Timmy. I won't say a word.
Not yet. About what? Talk sports.
Thursday night, that was a great night for us. I imagine you were out of it by halftime.
I mean, no, I'm a Dolphin.
I thought you were a Steeler fan.
No,
What the hell? If you're a Penguin fan.
All right, gentlemen, where are we starting at tonight?
We are gonna talk tonight, we're gonna start off with talking about risk management. As the way we budget, each one of the departmental budgets will have a line item for group insurance and also workers' comp insurance. And then the property casualty is paid out of the general fund, the sewer fund, and the refuse fund as one line item. And the way we handle the group insurance, I think everyone's been here, we take the total amount we're going to spend based on the amounts that both UPMC and Highmark, our two carriers, tell us what's gonna happen in the next year, and we divide that out by the number of FTEs. And that's, so a department budget like myself will have one number, and then a department that has 3 people in it will go 3 times that in the group line. And then we do use the same methodology with the workers' comp insurance. And there's, in the handout starting on page 76, there's a verbal trail on how we do that. What page is that?
76 of our handout?
Yes, the handout block. Yeah. Page 88. Yeah, kind of.
Page 88, yeah, it's more in the weeds of the calculation.
How the calculation works itself out. So, I guess, as everyone's had a chance to look at their budget book, any questions? The math of it is there on page 88, and I'm gonna let Chris talk about how what has happened in the last year as far as our workers' comp program, our property casualty program, and also our health program.
And when Chris does that, I know we had talked about wellness initiatives, and I'd like to know where that fits in, if anywhere, and if there's any attempt to, I know in my previous employer, we had a discount if we participated in whatever the things were that we had to do once a year to get our BMI and our blood work done. So has that ever been tried? And if not, why not? And if not, when? So that'll be my question when we're done hearing the presentation, because I think we're well aware that most workplaces now are looking at wellness as a way to corral or contain healthcare costs.
You want me to start with that, or do you want me to just go through?
Yeah, why don't you start with that, because I think that's a way that it makes it accessible and understandable to us and to the regular taxpayers out there.
So yeah, as it stands right now, we don't have anything put in place in terms of incentives in regards to. I don't think a lot of employers kind of lay out some stipulations that if you meet those specific stipulations, you will get maybe a discount off your contribution or something like that. At this point, we don't have anything like that in place. We did have some wellness initiatives throughout the year, again, that weren't technically mandatory, but they were offered to the employees. As you know, Liz, you were part of the Erie Walks campaign that we had. That was a 6-week competition between multiple employers throughout the county. The city, we had 34 participants sign up for that, which wasn't terrible for the first go around, I'd say. Our group accumulated 1,554 days walked during the competition. But out of the 12 large businesses that were in that Erie Walks campaign, in terms of enrollment, we were 7 out of 12. So in terms of the total number of people that participated, that's where we finished in regards to that. We also had a biometric screening and flu shot day. They were actually 2 separate days, one for Highmark members and one for UPMC members. Between those 2 days, we had 31 employees go through the screening. That's between both Highmark and UPMC plans. So I wouldn't call that a great turnout. We tried to tie it in. I thought tying it in with flu shots would help drive some participation. We also had an incentive there where there were Penguins tickets raffled off for people that signed up and participated in the screening. So again, the total there was 31 employees. We're hopefully the people that went through it saw how easy and quick and painless it was, and hopefully we can do it again next year and see an increase there. And then we always have our healthy highlights. Those are email blasts that I do. I receive different programs and initiatives from Highmark and UPMC. I then send these emails out to all employees as a way to alert them to the different programs that are offered. Again, like a wellness program, but not mandatory.
Thanks for doing that, because I think, do you think with the biometric screenings, is it people not knowing what it is, or a fear of giving up data, or do we need to do more education about how, I mean, it can help you to take control of your own health, and it could really be an early warning sign to you that, you know, you might have to worry about diabetes or, you know, your cholesterol or something.
Absolutely. Just from past experience, I do think there is a group of a population that sees it as like a big brother scenario, that the city's gonna get this information and use it against them in some way. I do think that's a big part of it. It's been a talk to us about when we've in the past tried to initiate wellness programs, that concern was expressed to us from different unions. So,
Don't forget, Chris, some people already got it too.
right, that's true too. It was a little bit later in the year. We did this at the end of September, partly because of the flu shots. We did that late. So I'm sure there was a segment of the population that had their screenings early in the year. So maybe if we try and do it a little earlier next year, you know, that might help.
And what about smoking cessation? Because I know, you know, we have the signs at the door now that, you know, you can't go out that door, and obviously we're still working to think about smoke-free parks. Do you have smoking cessation programs? And if so, do you know, like, a percentage of people who might take advantage of that?
Yes, there are programs offered through both Highmark and UPMC. UPMC calls it lifestyle management. And again, this is from UPMC, so the data is only through June, and it's only of 2019 because that's the first year we had UPMC. There were 16 people identified for that program, and they were actually able to reach all 16, which means the person took the call, but only 5 people participated. And I have some data here, Liz, for you in regards to, you know, there's lifestyle management, condition management, case management, health coaching, and what you'll see across the board for the most part is pretty low participation.
I just was at a meeting earlier today where Dave Mitchell was there, former county councilman, now the mayor of Corey. You know, Corey has blue zones, and the city, you know, we're not part of blue zones, but it just seems there was a lot of excitement maybe about a year ago about making this a really healthy community. So wouldn't it be great if we could model that through city employees, that even though we aren't officially a part of blue zones, that we would really embrace the idea that we want to be as healthy as possible, because that's a good benefit for yourself, it's a good benefit to the bottom line, and it's a good benefit for, you know, people coming here saying, wow, this is a place where that cares about and values health. So
Absolutely. We're open to ideas, so anything
okay.
you see out there, feel free to pass it
I
along.
know you've always been so responsive, and I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. So I guess we'll jump to page 76 to start going through the rest of the program. This page focuses on safety for the most part and our workers' comp. The first graph there gives you frequency, so total of claims, and severity trending, which deals with more of the dollars and lost time claims. And this goes from 2011 to 2019. And for 19, we're having another pretty good year. As of October 1st, we had 128 claims, and we were looking at an incurred amount of $235,000. And lost time claims, we had a total of 3 at that point. So we're on pace for one of our best years ever in terms of lost time claims, which is important because that's where a lot of the spend comes from, those claims where people are out of work.
I think we might be kind of, what page are we supposed to be on?
That's
there?
right.
76.
76, yep.
Of your work.
Of the handout, sorry, of the
Okay.
handout. The next chart there just goes through some of the trainings we did throughout the year. I'm not gonna bore you and go through each one of those. But one of the more exciting things we did this year were the mock rescues down at the wastewater treatment plant. We had fire get involved there, and there were a couple times throughout the year where tanks were down. So we had fire come down. We actually went through the whole process of, you know, if an employee fell in one of those tanks or were down and the tank's working and became overwhelmed, you know, how would we get them out? What would the procedure be? So that was a good experience, and fire has been a tremendous resource for us in terms of confined space in those situations. They receive a lot of training in that area. That's something we're gonna continue into 2020. We're gonna go throughout the entire plant and go through different rescue situations. We wanna build a binder of kind of SOPs, operating procedures for all these different rescue situations so that if that ever happens, you know, all parties are prepared. Page 77 is a graph that looks at our average cost per workers' comp claim. This comes from Midwest Employers Casualty Company. And the benchmark and best practice, these numbers are based on their book of business, which consists of over 300 self-insureds throughout the country, not just Pennsylvania. Again, the benchmark is where they'd like you to be. Best practice is, you know, ideal, top of the line number there. And as you can see, except for 2011, which was our only stop loss claim, we are doing very well.
Pretty nice looking.
That's a good looking graph. So, page 78 looks at our heart and lung payments. This only applies to police and fire employees. This is when they're injured and out of work for a temporary period of time. They receive what are called heart and lung payments, which is different than workers' comp because it is 100% pay, no taxes taken out. It's 100% of their salary. As you can see there, police is having one of their best years ever, and fire is having another not so good year, but honestly a lot of those dollars are from a claim that's carrying over from 2018. The employee's not back from work just yet, but it's not so much a reflection of claims that happened this year. They're just some lingering ones from last year.
And this is per state law, the heart and lung?
Yes, it is.
Oh, and I just want, it says in here, when these employees are off work, they must be replaced by another employee at the overtime rate of time and a half. So that's per their contracts? I mean, are they working extra to get the time and a half, or, I didn't understand that. What does that mean? It says in here, when these employees are off work, they must be replaced by another employee at the overtime rate of time and a half.
Ma'am,
Staffing power, actually, not manpower, but is that by contract that, I mean, you can't change the
Well,
schedule so you don't have,
Fire's contract.
okay,
Yeah, they have
Fire's contract, they have to have X amount of people in the firehouse every day. And then the police department always tries to have a contingent of 12 to 15 out on the street.
And you have to have 4 men on a rig, right?
Yes,
4 people.
Oh, come on, please. You know what I mean. But you're right, 4 people, that just, you can't make any cuts then.
yes, and 2 of the houses, actually, the towers, you have to have 5.
With the tower truck?
Yes,
Ooh, I didn't know that one.
yes.
That's
So-
by contract too, Paul?
Pardon me?
That's by
Yes.
contract?
So, well, I guess to answer that question, it's possible that if everyone showed up for work on a given day, that we wouldn't need to call anyone in on overtime. But when we do our annual, numbers on sick time, vacation time, personal time, and the like, it's almost, with the fire department, you're almost at the number every year, or every day, for 30 guys are on a shift. And then if 5 people call in sick or vacation, then you're down to 25 right off the bat, so.
I guess with these numbers under police, those overtime numbers should be down a little bit then, this year.
Yes, and also with the overtime sheet that Lisa put in the handout book, you notice all the grants that we've received this year. We've received a lot more in grant money for handling police overtime than we have in the past.
Since you went there, I guess when we budget for police or fire overtime, is that grant money taken into that budget where really we're looking at 1.7 million in overtime and this is being deducted
Yes,
off?
yes.
So I think there should be a different way that should be illustrated, I guess, in there, so we really know the numbers that we're at 1.7 in police overtime then instead of 1.3. If,
Yeah, that makes sense.
'cause we didn't know that money was there, I'm thinking,
In past years,
or how it was there,
Yeah.
put it that way. I guess, yes, we may have had grant money in the past, we just didn't know how it was implemented into the budget. Okay, that's
yeah, yes.
fair to say.
And I guess to
mean,
answer that, the grant money we've received this year is a lot more than it ever has been in the past. So,
And does that grant money look like that could be a good trend for years?
hopefully, yes. I mean, Abby is always looking at continuing those things, making those things happen. So I would hope to say yes,
I know, it's one of
with
the,
any federal, state grants. You never know.
Are the grant monies earmarked for specific purposes?
Some,
Or-
yes, they are, some are. Yeah, I can't just go into the general fund. I mean, some of those are, without looking at the list of the names, that goes for specific targeted groups or targeted initiatives.
And to kind of follow up on Jim's question in terms of how overtime is illustrated, I'm looking at the police, so $66,102 in 2019, so, less than 1 FTE, correct? I mean, do you ever translate the overtime into full-time, the equivalent of full-time employees? Because, you know, the average police salary is, I think, what, 86,000 or whatever, so this is less than 1 FTE, whereas the fire is more, maybe like 1.25 full-time employees in terms of, I'm just doing a
We
rough
do a
math.
Yeah, we do a replacement calculation every year, just to make sure that it's not cheaper to hire more than it is to pay overtime.
Okay,
And the big thing with those replacements is remembering that somebody, if you replace just one person, that might be a shift 1, but if shift 2 is sick, you can't move somebody from one day to another to take over. So the replacement for the police department is almost 2 people for every 1 that you replace, and for the fire, it's over 6 for every 5, so.
that's where it gets a little confusing.
nice work if you can get it.
So the next page, page 79, just points out the fact that as of now, the city does not fall under OSHA. And then the next point down there just talks about what it takes to qualify and maintain our self-insured status in the state of Pennsylvania. Page 80 just goes over some quick facts about property casualty. This year, the property casualty market saw an increase basically across all rates, and all size accounts. The medium and large size accounts saw the worst of it with premium increases of 6.2 to 5.6%. Specifically, auto and property, commercial property were tough lines this year. They saw the biggest increases. Auto's been on a heck of a run. This is the 32nd straight quarter with an increase in premium in regards to commercial auto. So a big thing driving that is distracted driving, coupled with an increase in the number of drivers in the U.S. and the fact that cars and what's in, they're becoming so expensive with all the computers that are being, built within these cars. It makes them expensive to insure and replace.
Do we have to worry about distracted driving on the part of our drivers, or is there anything to, like, remind people not to be distracted? Are there rules about cell phone use or texting if you are
Yeah,
driving a government-owned vehicle? And do we track any of that? Have we had distracted drivers? I guess I'm kind of putting you on the spot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we did, because there are so many out there, but do we have, how would such rules be enforced? And I know it might be different when you're talking about public safety versus somebody else who's out there, so.
Yeah, I don't have any evidence, that shows, one of our accidents happened due to someone, playing on their cell phone. So it's hard to prove that. We do have that rule in place. Again, it's hard to enforce without actually seeing someone doing it and then saying, hey, don't do that, or put them into the progressive discipline that we have.
Okay.
We could
Yeah,
put something on the back of the, put something on the back of the car, like you see on semi-trucks. How's my driving? Call 1-800 something if you see me doing something.
We could. A lot of people would argue that just people seeing that it's a city vehicle already kind of lends itself to people paying more attention to that vehicle's performance.
Okay.
But we could put a number on there if we wanted to.
I've called those numbers, not about city vehicles, but about when I'm on the highway and somebody does something, I don't call. It's when my husband's driving, I never call while I'm driving. But I do, those numbers are helpful, because it's scary when they,
I see a lot of distracted driving. I mean, even when you're on a corner, you can see people come by State Street.
Yep.
And they're driving while they're
Yep.
texting,
yep,
going upstate.
We have implemented GPS as well, not fleet-wide, but on a certain number of vehicles. We have GPS systems on, which,
so you don't have to be looking at your phone when you're trying to get somewhere or find something, you have it.
well, I'm not talking more so it's more for us to track where our vehicles are going.
Oh, okay.
How they're driving, because it tracks speed.
Wow,
That is good.
So we have seen a change in behavior, let's just say, since that GPS has been.
That's a good idea.
Again, it's not fleet-wide, but
Who's actually a city insurer for the vehicles themselves?
travelers.
Travelers. Naturally, it's probably a yearly thing that you go out and see who's gonna get the best rate for just saying we got the company across the street, I don't know if they even handle the commercial end of it, I would believe they would. But whether they would give us a little better rate just because we're their neighbors.
I don't think.
We do shop it. I'm not sure that Erie Insurance would entertain insuring us just because of, I think there's a lot of businesses, bigger businesses in town that they stay away from because of the interplay of,
Like a conflict type deal?
yeah, kind of yeah.
But it's still worth checking into.
But yeah, we
just
do, we do look at other insurance companies and get quotes. Absolutely.
and I think Ed Betson mentioned at our previous meeting that he was trying to scare up some more competitive bids, right? Was it for this type of insurance for liability?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And we're waiting.
I don't know if scare
we
up
have-
is the right word, but he was trying to make sure that we have some competitive bids, because,
Yes, we have some in, and we're waiting for more to come in, so,
okay,
And it's an annual, do it annually,
for the most part. yeah.
6-month thing, it's once a
It's yeah.
Elton, you have a question?
Page 81 is just kind of a outline of our insurance program and the lines of insurance that we do purchase. And it shows our deductibles and premiums there as well. The cyber's a big one. I'm seeing more and more of that happening. I was just on the phone with hate to bring them up, but the city of Allentown the other day. And he reported to me that they didn't have cyber a couple years ago, and they got hit with a malware incident that took over their whole system, and they've already paid $2 million, and it's still going.
Wow.
So we're very fortunate. We picked up that insurance, I think it was 2 years ago was the first time we bought that.
And what does the county also has kind of wrestled with this also, right? With cyber security of their system?
I'm not sure if, are you talking?
I talk about Erie
Insurance?
County, yeah, just,
I'm not sure what their program is there in terms of if they purchase this or not.
Chris, does the COG get involved in insurance? I'm not sure myself. No?
Not that I'm-
No, but as Liz mentioned, the county, they're part of that state, you remember, the state insurance consortium. So they have access to all the same things that we have.
We still have a policy on, use of computers in City Hall, right?
Yep.
My experience has been just walking around, people need to stay off the gaming sites, you know? That's how malware enters.
That's what happened in Allentown. An employee clicked on something they should have clicked on, and the whole system was taken over.
Allentown.
Billy Joel loved it.
Chris,
we
is
did have that weird thing, remember when we got the emails that had, and no, it wasn't Jim Winarski's fault, but we got some weird email
yeah,
with his name on it. It was like Jim
it said James Winarski.
Yes,
President or something.
we've
They
had
got our mail list, Liz. I mean, when I was in the controller's office, I used to look, we'd get mail from, you thought it was coming from the mayor's office or departments. They got a hold of our list. They went right down it. It looked official.
Phillips in the summer, I think.
How that happened, who knows, you know?
Yeah, we've had some phishing incidents, people trying to get access to people's accounts, but haven't had any. I mean, nothing that I'm aware of, like one of the ransomware. That's big now. Is they take over your system and say, pay us $100,000 to get your system back.
I do know, like on the county intranet, they do have anti-phishing warnings out there for employees, so I don't know.
Okay.
We don't have an intranet though, do we? We don't have something that like pops up internally and says, beware of phishing.
No.
Do we have any training, making our people aware of phishing?
We haven't had a formal training yet, no. That is something I'm looking at because I believe this insurance company that we're with offers that.
You may want to contact the Auditor General's office. When I was with them, we had phishing training online, and everyone must take it, everyone must pass. Who didn't pass, you had to do it again.
Okay.
And the IT department would report, would be passing on, I don't know what number we got, 180, but it was mandatory that we take that. And I'm not sure where they got it from or what it costs you might wanna check with them and I'll give you a contact.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Chris, is the crime at City Hall building?
That's employee theft.
Okay.
Is basically what that covers. Page 82 is, just kind of goes over our group health information. The first graph there just looks at our average age, which this is a little misleading. This isn't the average age of our employees. This is the average age of our total membership on our health plan. So this does include dependents and, younger people, which I think drives that number down. The next box, Market Watch, is a new program that's gonna be initiated next year for our plan. One of the aspects is that is called high cost, low value. This is where someone might be prescribed a prescription where they take one pill, but it would be a lot cheaper if they just took 2 pills. So that's something that's gonna be monitored more closely next year throughout our plans. Generic prescription drug usage is, as you can see, up substantially since 2010, which helps with our costs. The next chart just shows you the contributions for 2019. The 2021s are still waiting to be finalized. We're just waiting for some quotes to come in for our stop loss numbers. And then the last graph just looks at our health cost spending by bargaining unit for 2016, 17, and 18. And it also shows the employee contributions by bargaining unit. As you can see, there, early retiree, police and fire do not pay anything for the health insurance.
And that lasts what, till Social Security?
Either they turn 65, or technically, if, once they retire, if they or their spouse have a job that offers health insurance, they're supposed to take that insurance, come off of our plan. Supposed to, it's, again, it's hard, you know, we do send out a letter yearly saying, you know, hey, if you work somewhere or have access to coverage elsewhere, let us know. And
What would be a penalty if, is there, I shouldn't, okay, is there a penalty if someone doesn't do what they're supposed to do? Is there any, do you have any leverage?
no, I mean, a couple years ago, we did a dependent audit for the first time, which helped identify, you know, that forced people to give us documentation to show, you know, whether they were working or not. So we did find, you know, 15, 20 people, maybe not all associated with early retirees, but we did find 20 people that needed to come off our plan through that process. But no, we don't have specific leverage.
Maybe you do. You say, if you don't show us the documentation, we're gonna cancel it anyway. You know what I mean? I don't mean to be overly curt about it, because that's a significant number when if that's a problem. I don't know if it's a problem, but I think sometimes we just, respectfully, we send a letter out of being gracious and professional. But if they're not
Yeah, we just have
responding
no
in kind,
idea if they're you know what I mean?
Right.
It's hard for us to know.
well, I think we should tell them, we should, again, if it's you an issue, I don't wanna belabor this point, but if they're not responding to our correspondence, that makes me suspicious. So, if you don't respond with verifying that you don't have it and no means to acquire, or you do, then, you know, by a certain time, then we say, we're just gonna cancel yours here, because, you know what I'm just saying?
Yeah.
Again, hopefully that's not that big of a deal, but if it is something that's significant, that actually adds up to a significant money amount, then we should really look at some more teeth-infused ways of dealing with that.
Actually, the pension did that many years ago, remember, Paul? We did audits, we never did them in the old days, and we found out, there was a lot of, kids taking their parents. Well, yeah, it happens, because they move to Florida, we lose track of them, their father or mother dies, and the pension plan found out that, in many cases, the checks were still being cashed. So I think if you need an ordinance, Chris, I would tell you, you know, we can prepare one, because you know, it's 20 now, but things get out of hand, you know. And I think you gotta put some teeth into it, because we did find on the pension that there were people that, just for whatever reason, either didn't know they had to tell us, or assumed the pension was gonna be there forever. And you'd be surprised.
Again, nice work if you can get it.
Yeah, well, we even had, how do we handle the rare cases where we had 2 spouses working here, right? And I think only one carries insurance now, right? But I think in the past, both spouses carried insurance at one time.
Oh, like as singles?
Pardon?
So they were considered singles? Is that what you're?
I don't know how it worked. They did a lot of changes, you know, a few years back, that policies, even the pension found out, there were discrepancies in how people were marrying, young men or women on their deathbed, you know, where the IRS will tell you, you have to be married 18 months or so before they'll allow it. So, you know, we've been closing up a lot of holes, and this one should be closed too. I mean, it's a small thing now, but you never know.
I think if we stay consistent with the dependent audits and not wait 20 or 30 years to do another one.
Well, I mean, send out the letters and, you know.
Yeah, we do the letters.
And have them prove, you know, if they don't prove it, I agree with Curtis. That's it. You know, it's not being mean, it's, hey, you know what? You got a responsibility.
Right. I agree. Page 83 is another graph that, this is from the Kaiser Foundation, that looks at average annual health insurance premiums. The blue line is fully insured plans, the red is self-insured, and the green is the city. As you can see, we're trending pretty well there. And then page 84 is just our funnel to show how the risk management fund is funded in terms of the employee health claims, how we get to that, how we balance that out. And that's it for me.
Any questions, council?
Just one, Paul, how come golf is not included in on the budget side, under contributions?
We haven't put that in there in a few years.
I know, but why though?
They didn't have any money.
It's important to know that.
All right.
That's my question, but.
Thank you.
You can give us some good news. I appreciate that.
Try.
Or we appreciate that.
They wouldn't be making money then, Paul. That's where, you know.
Okay, we're gonna start with revenues, we're gonna do general fund. And we handed out those 11 sheets the other night, which show there's 4 differences between the book itself and when we made the changes between the, pension assumptions. So, I guess if we wanna reference the piece of paper that we gave you that say general fund 2020 final budget revenues, I'll go through that.
Which page of it is of that 1 of 11, or you're starting at
8 of 11.
Huh?
8 and 9 of 11.
All right, thank you. Was the one, the handout from the other night. After that, another handout.
Lisa's got it up on the board too.
I think it'd be helpful if we had a larger print one for Mel.
Can you zoom that up a little bit, maybe, Lisa?
Who's that for? You got one, Sonia?
I got one.
Mel, that help?
That helps me too.
That's about as big as I can get it.
Hey, why don't you get Michael?
Didn't mean to.
Jimmy,
I got it.
hey Jimmy, think Michael should have one? Think Michael should have one?
Yeah, he can. How about Michael?
Oh, wait, I found mine.
Michael.
Yeah.
Mr. Keys. Got that? You noticed that, huh? I heard you the first 3 times.
Somebody's paycheck will be pulled, I think.
Don't get it Thanksgiving.
Somebody's gonna be in for a little audit.
Okay, the first grouping is on page 8 of 11. That sheet shows the taxes. And I don't, does everybody want me to go through line by line, or everyone's probably had a chance to look at this? So the changes, I mean, I guess I could go through line by line. The real estate tax is current, we got the assessment from the county, we took that and figured out the millage rate and times it by 11.65 mils with no tax increase. Put the collection rate to that and came up with a number. The next number down, the priors. We are planning on doing a tax lien sale for all the delinquents we have in the hopper. We haven't done a delinquent tax lien sale in over 10 years, so there's probably about $3 million of delinquents in the books. So we'll get some money, a little bit more money than we normally collect.
That's quite a jump, isn't it, Paul?
Could you explain that to me?
Okay. Starting at the beginning, we pay our taxes every year for your home or business. There are people that, due to not having the money or cash flow issues in a business, don't pay their taxes. Well, after, the first thing after 3 years, the property goes up for tax lien sale. So the county collects money that way. But what happens is this buildup of me not paying my taxes year after year after year, there's just a buildup of these delinquents that, for better or for worse, aren't paid each year. So we collect about 90 to 91% of the assessment every year, and 10%, give or take, of the people don't pay. Did I explain that?
Yes, that was what we had that workshop on, Liz? They had mentioned?
Yeah, yeah. But, so they are losing theoretically their property, but they still owe the taxes, is that correct? And,
Even if they wait for 3 years to not pay those taxes, they could go up for tax lien sale, and you or I could buy them at the tax lien sale.
and do you have numbers on the last time you did this 10 years ago, how much it cost and how much you collected? I mean,
It costs about 5%. The companies that do this charge you a 5% fee. The county charges us 5% the second we send it over there on January 1st. So it's about a 10% fee to do this.
Do you get enough money back to cover the percentage?
Yes. Because remembering, you and I don't want to lose, we might have a cash flow problem this year, but you and I don't want to lose our house. So within 3 years, everybody pays their bill, and then just a new group.
Those are the
Wow.
people that you read about in the newspaper when they're printing
Yes,
out
that
the
big
newspaper?
2 or 3 page list, yes.
Does this apply only to homeowners, or does this apply to businesses?
Businesses also.
Okay, so if I have a lucrative business, I don't have to pay the taxes for 2 years. I can take that money, put it in the bank, get the interest, and then on the third year, I can pay that 1 year, which I'm always 2 years above.
Yes.
Versus you taking the money and getting the interest.
Yes, you could do that.
Yeah, there are some
Not
mass,
saying that isn't being done.
No, it's done all the time, but the bad thing about doing that is when the money moves from us to the county, to the tax claim bureau over there, they charge that 5% penalty, and then Sue, which will be you come January 2nd, once you miss your face date, there's a 10% penalty on top of that. So somebody that's gonna do, Mel, what you're saying could be done, you're gonna lose 10% by not hitting the face date, then you're gonna lose 5% more when it goes over to the county. So by not paying, plus they charge 0.75% interest each month. So good investment to put that money in order to not be a big loser in this deal, or you better have, again, like I said, a cash flow problem of some sort.
It was a lot more lucrative a few years ago. A lot of big businessmen used to do that. How come such a jump this year, Paul?
Well,
From
that's,
2 to 4?
we're gonna do the tax lien sale this year to help with the balancing of the
So you're
budget.
expecting more then, okay.
Well, no, there's always $5.5 million. On January 1st of every year, we've tracked it back year after year after year. There's $5.5 million at the county in that pot of money. So if we do it right in January, we'll get 90%, 90 cents of the dollar of that $5.5 million.
I just wondered when I looked at the previous other years, they were down a little bit, you know?
Yes, because
Yeah.
those years we didn't do a tax lien sale.
Right.
And why? I mean, why every 10 years instead of, I mean, what's the magic about the 10-year mark of doing this every 10 years?
Well, we needed that extra money this year to help with the balancing of the budget.
And a lot of these
Bigger
companies,
impact over a longer period of time is, I guess,
and a lot of companies won't come in for a little amount, right?
No,
They want to see some volume there before they make it worth their while. Unless you can find one that does it every, you know, but then
every
you're,
3 years would be the magic number there. But it costs us, again, 5% right off the top to do this. Okay, then moving down, the special levy tax and the income tax, I guess, go hand in hand here. The special levy for next year is going to be 0.65%, and the income tax next year is gonna be 0.5%. We're gonna put that ordinance on the first week in the first week in December, so we can get that passed by the middle of December, and then, on the state's website, so it can be law, so January 1st, all employers can start collecting that tax on January 1st.
how much is that going to bring in extra, you thought?
Well,
I'm looking at that number, that's pretty,
yeah, the special levy right now is 0.18% on the dollar, and going to 0.65, you're more than tripling it, not quadrupling.
well, the city residents were paying what last year?
0.18.
Weren't they paying higher?
no.
City, yes.
The city wasn't paying higher last year?
0.18, no, they're paying higher on their income tax.
I thought that's where we are, was I wrong?
I thought you were talking about the special levy. Right now, the city resident is paying 0.5 to the school district, 0.97 in income tax, and 0.18 in special levy tax. In 2020, as part of this budget, you're still gonna pay 0.5
To the school
district. You're gonna pay 0.5 in income tax, and then you're gonna pay 0.65 in the special levy.
Okay, and you think that's gonna, another 8 million, right?
Well, compared to, like, this year we budgeted 17 million, and next year we're gonna budget 23 million.
Where am I looking? Am I looking
I
wrong?
don't know.
Which line are we on?
Talking 31,
3148 and 3151.
Okay, yeah, you're putting the figure together, okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking at just the special levy, it's going from like 4 million to 12 million.
4 to 50.
Yeah, I'm looking there too. It's even higher there, 4 to 15. We're gonna get that much more, right?
yes,
Okay,
because 0.18 goes up to 0.65,
For everyone.
correct.
Which ours was already 0.65, it's going.
Well, no, ours has been, the special levy portion of this has always been 0.18. This year, by ordinance, what we did the 1st of January, our income tax was higher.
and see, the nice part, Jim, is by doing it to 0.6 now, all the employees and the people with the good jobs in the city, that's where you're gonna,
Yeah,
that's
where
why we should have done this a long time ago.
Because 60% of the special levy tax comes from people who live outside the city and work in the city.
But can you just say that again? So, but if you live in the city you're still gonna be paying more for the special levy, is that correct?
No, it's
No?
165.
So,
You'll be paying
how
more.
much more are city residents gonna be paying between these two taxes?
Last year it was 1.65, this year it's 1.65.
So city residents are not paying any more for either one of these for 2020, is that,
In total, no, they're not.
is that right, Cass?
No, we have to capture the out-of-town people.
No, I know, but it just,
Yeah.
I think it's confusing.
I'll be
and I
honest, we
think-
get confused between the special levy and the earned
Right,
income
right,
tax.
so you have to look at it in total. In total this year, everyone that lives in the city paid 1.65% on their earned income. Next year, everyone that lives inside the city will pay 1.65% on their earned income. Now, the math underneath of it is gonna change a little bit between earned income tax and special levy, but it's still 1.65. And you will pass an ordinance that says 1.65. People that live outside the city in 2019 are paying 1.18% on their income. Next year, they're gonna pay 1.65%.
So we're getting another 0.5 out of them, Jim.
Correct.
Just the same way we did.
And the nice thing about this
Yes.
one is we don't have to split it with the school district. And it's not a domicile tax, so it doesn't go back where they live.
Correct.
May not quite generate as much money because there's more people working in the city, living in the city than working in the city, out of the city.
Yeah, but
Why?
even,
There's actually more.
look at City Hall, Jim. I mean, and the school district, just take those two entities, not even the county. And look at, we did the same total at the school district one time. And what's it here, Paul? Number of workers live outside? 60 or 70?
Yeah,
I mean, and those are good paying jobs, Jim. Okay, you know,
Hey, I'm all for it, don't get me
Why couldn't we do this last year, though?
because we didn't change the assumptions.
right.
You have to show that you're more in need to get it.
Okay,
So
right,
by showing the true figures on the pension,
right.
which we wanted to do years ago, but it was a political nightmare. And, you know, this year we got a council and a mayor that, and the pension board that thinks it's a good idea.
Yeah, this goes back to that ability to tax.
Right, right.
That you base it on the MMO minus your state aid minus the city floor.
So, I may be going one step too far. If we get in an agreement with the water authority with, just say $90 million, and we use that to take our debt down, take our pension down, does that change where we are in the table of a distressed?
No, because we're not gonna use
Or-
any of that money on the pension.
Well, that,
The money we're getting from the water authority, we're gonna use on debt service.
okay, well, I just,
The it's, I guess it's two separate, transactions. Transaction one, we get money from the water authority, we pay down debt. Transaction two, we change the actuarial assumptions for the pension, the MMO goes up, and as everybody saw, you know, in the general fund roll-up, the MMO, the pension payment is gonna go up, but because the pension payment goes up, we're allowed to charge more on that special levy on the income tax.
we'll lose no state funding towards our pension.
Will we lose any?
Would we lose it?
No, not yet.
What about, I'm not saying this year, I'm saying in,
Possibly 12, 13, 14 years from now, if we pay off, you know, the MMO annually, and we don't have any amortization, those amortization corridors and all the old money that we owe, we don't have that anymore, it's possible our distress level will go from minimally or moderately distressed up to what is 90% or more fully funded pension, and it's possible we,
but you don't see that happening till,
not for 12 to 15 years.
And that's assuming everything goes
we
right
don't-
too.
and Jim, you
And maybe
also
I'm
made-
overthinking it, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah, it's possible if everything in today's world happens 15 years from now, and after we made these changes, the pension becomes fully funded 15 years from now, then it's possible we could lose the state aid and the special levy, but that's if all rules, laws, and everything take effect, hold on, and we're talking 15 years from now.
We floated 2 bond issues one time, Jim. Well, 2 for fire and police, 1 for O&E. And they were overfunded for a while.
The 98 Steel one bond.
It didn't take long for them to go back down though. I mean, just, it's a
Well,
nature,
that's- I mean, big picture, 90 million is a lot of money and it can evaporate pretty quick, that's all.
So I know I'm beating a dead horse, but I just want to make sure. The number that generates line item 3148 is the 1.65, which city residents are paying in 2019. Will pay the same 1.65 in 2020, but non-residents, it's going to go from 1.18 to 1.65. Is that what generates that number, the line item 13148?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not 1.65. Remember, the first part of that, the 1 is 0.5
Okay.
for the school district and 0.5 for our earned income tax.
that's your regular income tax.
Yeah, it's that number is 0.65,
Okay.
and both of those were 0.18 this year.
And I think we had it somewhere here where that's gonna generate roughly 1.8 million was one of our, by raising that levy for the working in the city that live outside, 1.8.
No, it's gonna.
Raise it more than that,
raise
Jim.
A lot
No.
more than that. Remember, we're going from.
Work outside the city, special aid, and this is what we got.
That was from 0.5 to 0.65.
Second change, people who work in the city but live outside the city will pay the special levy at a 0.65%.
Yes.
Change in this special levy increase special levy income tax rate by just under 1.8 million.
That was because the previous proposal was only to raise non-residents to 1.5.
Yeah.
So that's the difference from 0.5 to 0.65.
Okay,
That's-
so I guess total then, from the 1.18 to 1.6, what is that number?
15.93, that's
That
that line
number.
item there,
Okay.
this year. Next year will go up a little bit more than that, because remembering, this year, the first quarter collections are from the fourth quarter salaries, and the fourth quarter salaries that we're all paying that special levy are only at 0.18. So,
That's like 10 million more, Jim, from
yeah.
what they
the first-
budgeted.
The first year, you have that lag, but then also in earned income tax, the one we pay, line item 3151, the first quarter's gonna be a lot more, because the first quarter collections are based on your fourth quarter wages, and those were at 0.97, and next year, second, third, and fourth quarter are only gonna be at 0.5%.
And speaking of that line item 3151, so 6.8 million 2017 actual, 7 million 2018 actual, budgeted 12.394 for 2019, and then preliminary for 2020 8.9. So why is that? And are we going to hit the 12 million since we only have the 10-month year to date here? Do you see what I mean? It's
Yes, absolutely.
what is going on there?
That's a good question, and hopefully we will hit that number. We would have hit that number, but a lot of businesses did not remit the proper amount of income tax back in January, because we didn't pass that ordinance in January, and with it taking 21 days to become law, there really was no law for people to pay that 0.97 until about the beginning of February. We almost lost a whole month by not passing that ordinance back in December. Now, answer the question, why it's going up, or 7 million up to 12. It went from 7 to 12 because we raised it from 0.5 to 0.97 with that ordinance that was passed back in January. Now it's gonna go back down to 0.5. So you'd say, should it be at 7 million again? But no, it won't, because the first quarter collections, again, are the lag
take any
from
one.
the fourth quarter of the year before, when we're working on that $14 million number. So 14 million divided by 4 quarters, we're gonna get about 3.5 million the first quarter, and then after that, we'll get to
It's the same
$7 million
date.
worth of that money every quarter. So 7 million divided by 4 times 3, yes, Cal.
The year-to-date, what is that figure? Is that the actual?
Yes,
Why are they different?
what do you mean by that?
Well, I'm looking at the handout sheet compared to the book. Okay, same date and they're different.
What book?
The budget, free budget book?
Oh. What page are you on, Cass?
Yeah, this was the revised.
Yeah, the revised, the 1031 should match though.
Yeah, they should, because if it's year-to-date, right, that shouldn't be revised.
I mean, all the other numbers are the same, the budgets and the actual from the previous years. You got a $2 million difference between the handout sheet, the new one, revised.
What page are you on in the preliminary?
Well, we're, you know,
Yes.
if you take,
Well, in the budget book.
yeah, and then 8 on the other one.
Well, as you remember, when you were controller, we get those reports from Berkheimer every month.
Yeah, but I mean,
And part of, please,
yeah, okay.
please, thank you. Part of the reports show some of the money being the non-resident income tax, and part of the reports, because some of the non-resident become the special levy tax. So, between the time we prepared the book and we prepared the handout, there were adjusting journal entries that were made.
Sounds good, Paul.
You lived it.
This looks funny to the public, you know. You and I understand it from a accounting standpoint, but that's a $2 million swing in that. And they all seem to be going downwards, even the licenses and the fees seem to be going down. And those, you know, those should be collected. They should be a fait accompli. Ooh, how about that for a word?
Yeah, what Kaz is saying is that in the preliminary budget, it shows 3151 income taxes year-to-date, 9,027,880, and then on this sheet, it shows 436,629. I guess we're gonna have to look at every single one.
Well, to jump ahead, Paul, I'll tell, you know, I'll accept your answer on that, on the taxes. But when you go to like licenses and permits, okay? I don't know how you have less dog permit fees than you had when the first book came out. Those should be collected, correct?
Yeah.
Just saying, I mean,
Can people do that online now, the dog licenses?
I know they're working on it, I don't know if
I mean, this might be,
Yeah, that's another $1,000 difference, right, Kaz? In the year-to-date numbers for the dog licenses.
yeah, I just wondered where the other money went, I mean. And it seems to be on every figure, they seem to be trending down. And those fees they should have been collected if they're year-to-date figures.
Yeah, you're right, because total licenses and permits in this one are 1.7 million and 1.362.
I mean, I understand with the income tax, Paul, yeah, there's claims and there's counterclaims.
Yeah, there's kind of,
But the fees, I mean, unless we went and done some giant refunds.
Can we get an answer, maybe not tonight, but before our study session tomorrow, about how those numbers changed?
Yeah, I guess even something as simple as real estate taxes current. If this was printed beforehand, 35.4, then we get the
Yeah, there's some other ones that defy logic, but I'll wait for your
I
answer.
mean, it doesn't have to be answered tonight, we can check into that. The one, I guess we can move forward with the revenues, Paul, of course, which one do you want? We're still gonna stick with the handout, correct?
We're still in income tax, I think.
But we're still sticking with the handout, not the original.
Yeah, the only differences between the handouts are the income tax, special levy, income tax, and then the, second to the last line, the operating transfer from the water authority.
What page you on?
Not
a
eight,
handout.
not page 9, the second from the last number.
I have a question about the amusement tax. Do you have that broken down by venue? Or could we get that broken down by remitting, group?
I think he did have it broke down, but I wasn't sure. Thought there was a page in there. You mean you're talking about like the Philharmonic and the
Right.
ballpark? I thought there was.
Probably in the handout, right?
Yeah, I don't know what page that was at, but I remember looking at it and it was, I know we don't send anybody into the ballpark to check, so we pretty much take them at their word.
I'll go in undercover.
You've been wanting to raise that to 5%.
Receivable statute.
Yeah, we'll get a breakdown.
Okay.
That made sense. But the amusement tax, Mr. Mayor, is 264,000 in our first book, and then it's 210 now. Hocus pocus, it's out of focus. I mean, I don't know what happened. I mean,
Yeah.
which one's right?
There's so many different iterations. I wonder if just an old
That's what I mean,
old copy was open.
To answer that,
Yeah.
What's gonna happen this year? Let's see, we budgeted $750,000 this year from parking. I guess that's the parking tax revenue. What happens if we don't get that agreement with, the parking authority?
You know what that means? Are we assuming now, because I see the revised one, it's back in, right?
yes.
Okay, and, you know, I met with them, I don't get a feeling either way, okay? I would say I was more comfortable leaving it out and hoping for a miracle. But yeah, if we're short 500. And then I think that's when we think about Plan B. No, and I when I attended their last meeting, I didn't feel confident either way when I left. I come away with a
The
feeling,
next couple days is gonna tell us something, correct?
Paul, did you send a pilot letter to all of the nonprofits?
In the city?
Okay.
the parking tax, I thought, that went down, Paul, why'd it go down? even what we're collecting this year, is there something I'm missing? Or are we gonna get it all at the end of the year?
No, part of the parking tax line item is
The parking authority?
parking
Oh,
authority.
okay.
It includes the lump sum that we have been getting then, instead of being presented as a tax, it was
Well,
figured in.
Figured as a lump sum of 500.
When it was recommended, there was a big brouhaha about collecting it at the gate. So one of the previous mayors decided to, they came to an agreed upon figure. But as I reminded their attorney, you know, they said, we can't tax the authority. That may be right, but we can certainly tax the users.
Why was there a brouhaha, though? They didn't wanna
They thought it was, you know, having worked there.
onerous, or?
Having worked there, I could see what the problem would be. They don't like to collect odd amounts, and they would have to probably round it up to a certain figure to account for the 15%. But, you know,
Okay, so they like the $3 special event or the XX per hour.
yeah, and then just on the everyday basis, you know, they'd have to change their rates, so, you know, they like to keep them nice and neat.
Might make a little more work for them.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it was, Jim. It was a little more work for them. And, because if you're dealing with some of the private lots, they charge you a flat rate. So all they do is, if it's $10, you know, they add,
They've already figured the tax into their,
or they add it on and you
yeah,
pay, you know.
okay.
Because their solicitor said to me, well, how are we gonna do it? I said, we do like the Civic Center does, you put on a ticket. Or if you go to a hotel room, it's on the wall, and then you know, when you get your bill, that's all. I mean, we not be able to tax them, but we can certainly tax users, I think. You know, we've done it before, and all government entities do it. But yeah, 500,000, that's a big hole in our budget.
I'm gonna think at this point, we do have guests coming to our caucus session before our council meeting at 7:30. I think we'll, adjourn this budget session. I'll give Paul, you can check into those couple discrepancies from,
Might have been,
and
as
it,
Renee said,
yeah, and
we
I'm,
put so many of these together, these might be or October 15th numbers. I'll look it up.
that's fine.
But the budget number, the total there.
Thanks really for the work you guys are doing. It's just, you gotta do our
Does
due
everybody,
diligence.
I guess, understand that whole thing with the EIT and the special levy and how it's still, everyone's still gonna pay 1 point?
Put it this way, maybe in between now and tomorrow night, we could just do a little spreadsheet that help all of us
To see.
get the gist, because we're going from 1% to 1.8% to 1.65%, 0.5%, and nothing against, you know what you're talking about, but we know half of what you're talking about sometimes.
Paul, I may be visiting you tomorrow.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
be there. With my door shut.
You don't. I don't.
We need to see the breakdown.
No milk in it, that's why.
I think caucus,
I like them when you're under. Yeah, we're